How's it going, everyone? It's Avi from Marshall. Today is February 10th, 2021, and today we're going to focus on not one, not two, but three major snowstorms that could impact the eastern half of the United States. We have one that's going to approach the mid-Atlantic, another one that's going to approach from the east coast and then affect a lot of the northeast coast, and then we're going to have another that could affect the entire eastern half of the United States. Well, before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video. Make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. So let's begin by taking a look at this first snowstorm that's going to happen in the very near future. I'm talking about pretty much tomorrow it's going to happen. It's going to affect a lot of the East Coast, and it's currently affecting a lot of the Midwest, right? Well, I wouldn't say a lot of the Midwest, but some states in the Midwest right now where we see some light snow showers for the most part throughout Indiana, Illinois, and extending to Missouri and Iowa. However, this will expand because there's going to be a lot more unstable air once it reaches closer to the Atlantic Ocean, where obviously we have that very warm Gulf Stream water, and even without the Gulf Stream, the water temperatures in the Atlantic are relatively warm compared to the air temperature that we're seeing throughout the East Coast, and as a result, that's going to create a little bit of, that's going to enhance the unstable air in this area to really strengthen this storm and bring heavy snowfall at times throughout the mid-Atlantic states. So let's begin by first taking a look at the future. So right around 3 p.m. this will extend, and then we will begin to see more the snow swath widen and broaden once it reaches the higher elevations of West Virginia, and it's going to encounter a little bit more unstable air to increase the size of this snow band. And you see that by tonight, by 6 p.m. tonight on Wednesday, you see that the snow swath really broadens by the time it reaches Maryland and West Virginia, and then we're going to see conditions quickly deteriorate right around the DC area, where you could see very heavy snow at times because it's going to drop at a very fast rate, and it's not going to be it's not going to be very slow moving, which might be good news if you don't like the snow. But if you want more snow, then unfortunately, then it seems like it's going to mainly stay a little bit, it's going to move a little bit too fast to really bring the major snowfall for you guys in right around Maryland or southern Pennsylvania. And you might see some snow in southern New Jersey, but however, I'd say for the New York City and New Jersey metropolitan areas, I'd say for the most part, you guys will miss out on the snow, as there's just too much of a dominating ridge just to the north of this system to bring a lot of snow further northward, and most of the snow will stay mainly towards Maryland and Northern Virginia and throughout the Delmarva Peninsula, and this will also extend as far north as southern Pennsylvania and southern New Jersey as well. So this will be affect you guys in Atlantic City and maybe Philadelphia as well. But the sweet spot in terms of snow should be right around the Washington DC area, I should say, and also throughout the higher elevations of West Virginia, where you're gonna see the longest duration of snowfall for you guys in West Virginia. However, this is going to be a quick mover, like I said, and there might be some snow showers behind it right around Virginia, but I don't think it's going to bring any major snowfall. Maybe another 1 to 2 inches at best, I'd say. But other than that, this should be pretty much the main portion of this storm that you should be worried about throughout the mid-Atlantic. So in terms of the forecasted snowfall accumulation based off of what the European model is thinking, let's move a little bit forward to 36 hours from now to 42 to maximize that the potential snowfall accumulation you should expect. And you see a pretty large area of mainly, I'd say 3 to 6 inches, over 6 inches right around West Virginia. But the European model is now a little bit more lenient on bringing mainly a 3 to 6 inch snowfall threat rather than the 6 to 12 inch or 5 to 8 inches we were seeing for the European model in earlier forecast runs. And at one point we were seeing over a foot of snow from the European forecast model, but now it seems like it's leaning more towards a 3 to 6 inch direction from at least this first snowstorm, which is a key word because there's still many more snowstorms to come for a lot of the Northeast. And potentially the Midwest as well. So this first snowstorm should dump around 3 to 6 inches throughout Virginia and Maryland. Let's take a look at what the GFS model is forecasting with this storm, and the GFS is a little bit more lenient on bringing a little bit more snow, right around 6 to 12 inches of snow throughout western Maryland, throughout eastern West Virginia, and throughout southern Pennsylvania as well. And just to the north of it, we're seeing a good area of 1 to 3 inches. Maybe it might dump maybe a dusting right around New York City, but I don't expect anything more than an inch of snow, if any snow falls right around New York City metropolitan area. However, Philadelphia, Washington D.C., and West Virginia and Maryland in this case should expect around 6 to 8 inches of snow from this if this were to come for fruition. Right now the computer models are disagreeing of how much snow exactly is going to fall. However, if we average it out, it's mainly, I'd say it's leaning towards the direction of 4 to 8 inches throughout West Virginia. Throughout West Virginia, Western Maryland, and southern Pennsylvania, and then maybe 3 to 5 if you're a little bit closer to Washington D.C. and a little bit further southwards to Virginia. So this is still something you guys need to be aware of, because 3 to 6 inches of snow or 4 to 8 inches of snow could still be significant at times, especially when it falls at a very high clip. So keep that in mind. It's going to be a fast mover. So all signs are pointing towards the direction that this is going to dump a lot of snow at a very fast pace. So you guys need to be aware of that tonight, because it's going to dump a lot of heavy snow throughout Maryland, West Virginia, and southern Pennsylvania at a very fast clip. It might not be a ton of snow, but it's better to be prepared and at least aware of it. And I do not recommend going out unless it's an emergency. And maybe in some areas it might be light. Maybe you only get 2 inches if you're lucky, but I think that it's going to make the road conditions slick. So it's better to just stay indoors and not go out for Wednesday night and even extending to Thursday morning. So keep that in mind if you're right around Maryland, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, because there's going to dump a decent amount of snow for you guys. So in terms of the certainty and the confidence regarding this snowstorm forecast, it's high at this point. We're less than 24 hours from the snowfall impacting along Maryland, Washington D.C., and the Mid-Atlantic. So there isn't going to be any drastic changes that could pretty much completely change your forecasted snowfall accumulation. So if you're hoping for a lot more snow, do not expect it, as mainly for the most part the range seems to be around 4 to 8 inches, and there's a slight margin of error, so maybe you might get slightly more or less than that, but for the most part expect 4 to 8 inches of snow throughout the Mid-Atlantic. But now let's move on to even more long-term future snowstorms that could affect the entire eastern half of the United States. So obviously we have this first snowstorm that I was talking to you guys about, and then what's interesting is that behind it there's going to be a decent dip in the jet stream, and that could enhance the risk of a low pressure forming right here, or a trough forming and really developing to the point where it could bring a decent amount of snow throughout the Northeast headed into this weekend, because you see by Sunday we begin to see a little bit of a snow band form, and when we see a low pressure system just off the East Coast moving towards the northeasterly direction along with the jet stream dip behind it, it always looks very dire, and it always looks like the major snowstorm is bound to happen, because typically when we see a low pressure system off the East Coast like this, right around dip in the jet stream, that typically means that this is gonna explode in intensity and bring heavy snowfall throughout the Northeast. However, it doesn't seem to be exactly the case, because the jet stream, because it's going to move just far to the east enough to maybe bring a little bit more heavy snowfall to the Northeast, and also the jet stream won't be close enough to really rapidly intensify the storm. While there is certainly a dip in the jet stream throughout the Midwest and in the Northeast, it isn't a crazy southward dip that this jet stream is doing, and it isn't going to rapidly intensify this storm like some might hope when they want to see snowfall, or some might fear when they don't want to see snowfall. So it doesn't seem like this is going to rapidly intensify and bring major snowfall. However, it still could bring the risk of 3 to 6 inches of snow, especially throughout the interior northeast. Let's take a look at what the European model is saying. And by the way, this is right around 4 days from now, so headed into Sunday, late Saturday into early Sunday. This should be the time frame when the snow will affect you guys. And then let's take a look at what the European model is forecasting. Let's take a look at its forecasted surface and radar map. It's you're going to see that the European model is also bringing a low pressure system right around the east coast, and there's a lot of thunderstorm activity right around the southeast. There's some mixing going on in Virginia, and if we continue to move forward, as you can see, it develops it a little bit more, and it's a little bit closer to the coast, which could enhance the risk of a heavier snowfall threat throughout the northeast. We see some heavier snowfall bands right around upstate New York. However, it's to the point where it's a little bit too close to the coast to maybe bring an all-snow event for Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., or New York City. So we have to definitely keep in mind how close and how far this storm is. The GFS model is taking this low pressure system a little bit further out to sea, which would mean that it's going to be more of a snow event for the big cities such as Philadelphia, New York City, and Boston. And however, the European model is leaning towards bringing this closer to the coast, which would make it more of a mixing or a rain event for New York City, Philadelphia, and then heavier snow throughout the interior northeast. So we really have to see how these computer models alter their forecast over the next several days, because any minor differences in the forecast could make a huge difference in terms of how much snowfall accumulation you'll see along the northeast coast. So we need to keep a close eye on this, because there's still that possibility it could dump a decent amount of snow throughout the big cities in the northeast. However, it's becoming likely that we're going to see some type of snow from this storm, because when both the computer models are agreeing a low pressure system will form as a result of this jet stream dip, and we'll bring some snow. It's getting certain, especially when we're talking about forecasts around 4 days out, that we will see some sort of snow right around the northeast headed into this weekend. So let's take a look at the European model's snowfall forecast. So I'll go back to 78 hours from now to give you guys a proper snowfall forecast regarding the second snowstorm, because we might get a little bit confused, because the European model is obviously measuring the snow that was from the first snowstorm that's expected to happen tomorrow. And I want to give you guys an idea of how much snow the second snowstorm will add on to what's already on the ground throughout the mid-Atlantic. So let's move on to, I would say, 114 hours from now when this storm has passed. And for the most part, it's leaning towards bringing a good area of another 3 to 6 inches throughout the northeast, especially the interior northeast, where it's forecasting closer to 3 to 6 inches, while along the east coast it's more like 1 to 3, maybe a little less than that, because the rain's getting entrained into this storm. And then for a lot of the mid-Atlantic, it won't add on a ton of snow, maybe around another 1 to 3 inches at best. But let's compare again to see how much additional snow you should receive. And yeah, for the most part, expect 1 to 3 to 3 to 6 throughout the interior northeast. However, I'd say there's still uncertainty regarding the storm. So we're still 4 days out, so we definitely need to keep track of how the forecast changes, and it really all depends on the orientation of the jet stream, because if the dip is a little bit more pronounced, it will steer the storm closer to the coast, and also there's going to be more unstable air to broaden the storm and bring heavier snowfall. So there's still that possibility it could be maybe a big snowstorm that may be bigger than 3 to 6 inches, but we just have to wait and see. And based off of what both computer models are saying, it seems more likely that there's going to be a 3 to 6 inch snowfall threat as of right now. However, that could change, especially since we're only 4 days out from this storm. But now let's move on to potentially what has a potential to be the biggest and most major snowstorm, not only for February, not only for the Northeast, not only for this forecast, but for the entire winter season for a lot of the United States, because it's based off of the forecast I'm seeing from the GFS and the European model, it looks like an intense and just impactful storm for millions of people from the southeast to the Midwest to the Northeast. It's gonna affect just a lot of people. So to see the anatomy of this storm, it's gonna move off the Pacific Northwest, and right off the bat you see that this is quite a powerful storm, than more powerful than usual coming off the Northwest Pacific, which would increase the chances of a huge snowstorm throughout the Midwest. And as you see, as it moves further southwest, there's going to be just a large swath of snow. It's going to bring a lot of cold air behind it, thanks to the northwesterly winds that's going to be induced. Thanks to the northwesterly winds that's going to be induced by this pressure gradient of this low pressure system and this ridge, and it's going to maintain a lot of that cold air further south, and it will enhance. And you see, look at how deep southward that jet stream dip goes. And when we see a jet stream dip this pronounced, that likely means that we're going to see just some sort of major snowstorm throughout the United States, especially, and you see just extremely heavy snow throughout Arkansas, and this extends as far south as maybe Houston, Texas, or the coastal areas of Louisiana, the southern coast of Louisiana at that. So this jet stream dip seems significant and would definitely strengthen this storm. And then you see it moves up the Midwest and brings a lot of snow throughout the interior Northeast as well. The European model is also forecasting a major snowstorm to come out of this storm. Let's take a look at its futurecast radar regarding this snowstorm. You're going to see that, again, it forecasts a large low pressure system coming off the Northwest Pacific, bringing a lot of snow, not only in the higher elevations of the Northwest Pacific, but throughout Texas. And it's going very far south, this low pressure system, and it's bringing snow close to the Mexico and United States border. And we see heavy snow again throughout the Midwest. And the European is taking this a little bit, it's taking a little bit less snow, but for the most part, it's very accurate and very identical to GFS. And you see just a very strong snowstorm, and it's bringing a ton of snow throughout the Midwest and the Northeast, and they're very identical in their forecasts, where you see that at nearly the same time frame, they're at the same location. So at this point, there seems to be high certainty with the computer models, but again, this is going beyond 6 days out. A lot of things could change, guys, so do not take this at all with any sort of truth. But however, based off of what the computer model has been persisting on, it seems like it's gonna set the jet stream is gonna set the stage for some sort of major snowstorm to happen in the United States headed into next week, and it could be potentially just it could impact a lot of people. And in terms of snowfall forecast, total snowfall forecast over the next 5 days, so keep in mind, this is keeping in mind of the next two snowstorms that are expected to impact the Northeast. You see 6 to 12 inches expected over the next 5 days throughout Maryland and the northern portion of Virginia, 3 to 6 throughout the Midwest over the next 5 days. And then you see that, and this could potentially be more depending on how big this third snowstorm is expected to be. There's definitely that potential, but for now I'm playing it safe, putting it at 3 to 6 inches, but a lot could change, keep in mind. And then 1 to 3 throughout the Northeast as of right now, but it could quickly change depending on how this third snowstorm reacts over the next several days. But anyways, guys, I guess that's it for this video. I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video. Make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. I hope you guys have a good day.